Listen to that crowd. They know who it is. They know the name. The next generation, indeed.
Next Gen. That's his nickname.
Next Gen.
What's up, Steelers fans? I just got back from Baltimore, and let me tell you, that was a cold and miserable game. My dad and I were in the upper decks, where there's no protection from the elements, the rain and the wind. So at halftime, we went downstairs to the concourse area, where the bleachers above overhang you, so you should be covered. But somehow you're still constantly getting dripped on by something. And, it's not nice, clean sky water. Who knows what that dripped, or who that dripped from. Hands down, the worst thing about M&T Bank Stadium, even worse than the fact that the Ravens play there, is that they serve Hunt's catsup and not Heinz ketchup. So these backwoods maniacs, who knows what they got going on down there in Maryland. Mason Rudolph, 18 for 20 passing on the day. I didn't think he looked that good from the eye test, at least not until the 71-yard bomb to Deontay Johnson, which ended up accounting for almost half of his total passing yards in the afternoon. On that touchdown, Mason had Muth on a stick route. He had Robinson on another stick route by the sideline. Robinson had enough space to at least make that clean catch for the first down. I don't know about any yak. But Mason turned down those chump throws when he saw Deontay coming open over the middle on a deep post there. And after the game, Mason was asked about the yak opportunities on those in-breaking routes. And he basically said, yeah, that's just the nature of the in-breaking routes, is you're running into the fat part of the field. If the defender takes a bad angle, your guy's gone to the races at that point. Mason also mentioned that those out-breaking throws that this offense has relied on so heavily the last couple of years, those are safer throws because there's less traffic between the quarterback and the target he's trying to get the ball to. There are less hands that could potentially intercept that pass. So those are safer throws than when you're going over the middle and you're throwing over the line, you're throwing over the linebackers, then you have safeties and cornerbacks who could potentially get involved. Whereas if you're throwing those outbreaking routes, it's basically just your guy and the guy who's covering him. So for all you people who dig up the AWS route charts and you want to scream about how they're not using the middle of the field, well, this is something I've talked about probably a number of times by now, but those charts only show the routes that are targeted. So if the quarterback chooses not to make that throw, it's not going to show up on the chart, no matter how open the guy was, no matter how well he ran the route. They're not going to show up unless that ball comes out. So when you have an offense that's deterring their quarterbacks from making those throws, and make no mistake, they have scripted them. They have routes running over the middle every single passing down. There's at least one, usually multiple, and usually they cross each other. Little mesh route action. So although the numbers ended up going in Mason's favor today, he was still responsible for 3 fumbles. The Steelers' offense as a whole put 6 on the ground today. Fortunately, they only lost 2 of those. But Mason Rudolph, at one point, on 2 consecutive snaps, put 2 fumbles on the ground. The first one I thought may have been an incomplete pass. They didn't show a replay of it in stadium, which made me suspicious that the fans might have seen something that they wouldn't have liked. But even in that, there were opportunities to learn and grow. There was a cool leadership moment from Najee after the fumble that Jalen lost. As the offense was coming off to the sideline, Najee came towards them off the sideline and dapped up the entire offensive line and Jalen to make sure that their minds were on the next play that they might make and not dwelling on the last play that they didn't make. A little bit of interesting shot selection. Deontay Johnson was the only wide receiver to catch a pass today. He caught 4 of his 5 targets. The only other wide receiver targeted was Allen Robinson, who was targeted once and did not make that play. George Pickens had no catches, no yards, but he did have a 3-yard jet sweep rush that picked up a first down, and the way he celebrated, you would have thought he just picked up 30 and won the Super Bowl. Najee Harris, another big day from him, 26 rushes for 112 yards. First Steelers running back to have 1,000 rushing yards in each of his first 3 seasons, reminiscent of the game last year, the Titans game, where they screamed out, "It's the same plays." Obviously, you want to keep the defense honest and not get too predictable, but when you have a play that you can keep running down their throats over and over, and they showed you that they're powerless to stop it, even if they want to, why would you switch it up and run a different play and let their back off the ropes? That's what football's really about. That's the old school bully ball that we've talked about wanting to get back to now that we have guys like Broderick Jones in the room. Jaylen Warren, 9 rushes, 33 yards, but 23 of those came in 1 run. So outside of that, he had 8 rushes for 10 yards. What is that? 1.25 yards per carry. That's not great. Outside of that, he was responsible for 2 of the fumbles. Just a rough night for Jalen there. Eric Rowe was the leading tackler for the Steelers tonight. He had 12 stops, 10 of them solo tackles. I saw him spend a minute or two in the blue tent, but even that didn't slow him down. And he was responsible for one of the forced fumbles too. And I think he had a PBU, now that I think of it. Stepping up big on the back end with Tristan Thompson going down, and Minka also, obviously, who had a chance to play in this game. Tomlin said he was leaving the light on, but obviously Minka ended up on the inactive list. But in that same vein, Landon Roberts actually did end up going today. Just, 2 weeks after it looked like he obviously tore his pectoral. Obviously, it wasn't a tear because he wouldn't be playing now, but it looked bad. It looked like they knew it at the time. They announced that he was, downgraded to out for the rest of the game awful quick. They didn't want to risk it at all. So those are always bad signs. TJ Watt, in his injury tonight, the first message I saw on Twitter was that he was ruled out. I didn't even see a message that he was injured and was being evaluated. So that never seems to be a good indication. But they said that their thinking is it's a grade 3 sprain of the MCL. Not being a doctor, I don't know what that means. But looking at the replay, which I didn't enjoy doing, but I was pleasantly surprised to see there wasn't the bending of the knee the wrong way, where you think, yep, he's going to need that ACL surgically repaired. You hear sprain and you think, okay, that's not as bad as it could have been. I don't know if the MCL is worse than an ACL injury or what the deal is there. I know ACL is you're done for a year, and so he might have not have been back for the beginning of next season had it been an ACL. The quote from Schefter is that they're looking at a multi-week injury here, and the Steelers may not even have any life going forward after this. But if they do get to continue playing without TJ Watt in that room, I feel a little bit better than I have in the past when he's gone down. Just based on what they have in that room around him with Alex Highsmith, who you never have to worry about. Marcus Golden stepped up with a big sack today. Nick Herbig with the strip sack last week. That's legit rotation that, conditioning will obviously become a concern if TJ's not in that room, just because they're stepping into an expanded roles. It's not the situation that it's been in the past where the next man up is Alex. The next man behind him is, Jameer Jones or whoever the heck else they have back there. Tuzar Skipper, I don't even know. So we took care of our business. We controlled what we can control. Now we have to wait for... if this game that's going on right now ends in a tie, then we're in. Otherwise, we have to root for the Bills to lose or the Jags to lose, or the Jags can tie too. Thinking back to last year in the Week 8 dominant victory over the Browns, we found out maybe 5 minutes or so before the end of that, before that final gun blew, that even though we were going to win our game, we weren't going to get the help that we needed. So that was going to be the end of our season there. In 2021, everything broke perfectly there in Ben's last year. Going into the last week of Baltimore, we got the win, we got the help we needed, we earned the right to go get trounced by the Chiefs, so that was fun. And then a few years before that, there was a Raiders game, I remember, the last week of the year, and after the Steelers beat them, all the players sitting on their helmets on the field on the Jumbotron watching, actually I think it was a Browns game that we needed them to win. So for the first time in the history of the Steelers and Browns, Steelers fans are rooting for the Browns. And, in the most Browns thing possible, they don't come through for us, and we take care of our business, they don't, and that ends our season. So as we move forward through the Week 18 NFL slate, we've done all we can do. All that's left is to hope that we finally get the storybook ending that we've missed the last couple of years.